Hey there, Clean Freaks. My name's Hank Balch. You're watching a special recording of Beyond Clean, a Stilco Element video series, talking to subject matter experts and thought leaders from around the country on all kinds of fun, interesting topics. And the topic of today's session is support post install, thinking about the install complexities of equipment ahead of time and what that actually looks like after the implementation phase. Joining us today for this great interview is one of my friends, a well-known thought leader out there, also a member of the Beyond Clean Advisory Group, Angus. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me, Hank.
So for folks who don't know you, you're the Enterprise Sterile Processing Director for Boston Children's. Like I said, you're pretty well known for us. You're out there, you speak, you teach. We were talking before we started recording here that you're teaching a course. You're teaching classes there at Harvard regarding sterile processing, like what it is, the impact on other healthcare roles as well. Let's start at the beginning. That is, you're sitting down and you're talking to vendors the direction that you may go for new equipment purchases. I decide what I want and I decide who I want to get it from. Are you already thinking, yeah, but there's going to be more, and actually that more is going to be a lot longer than this whole process of just the purchasing phase?
Well, here's the thing. I think some of us in the space look for the new and shiniest, greatest thing, right? We all want that, but we don't take a hard reality of the actual space that we have and the footprint and the infrastructure that's in place. So, having said that, the way I approach purchasing capital and planning for capital is looking at the existing space that I have, but being very practical of what I need and how it will fit in. So that means talking to the people in engineering to understand that the current existing four utilities are in place, having a vendor come out and take a look at those existing utilities to make sure that, whatever piece of equipment I'm looking at would actually be able to be supported on without having to cause additional construction, which again, additional construction is more money. So there's a lot of that pre work that is done before you actually start the whole actually planning for the purchase itself.
There's also the other side of it is, okay, once I get it in, am I going to see you guys? And how often am I going to see you guys? Like, this support piece is kind of baked in. We know that. But then how do you identify that if you're just coming in here, and maybe especially if you're talking to a new vendor that you haven't necessarily worked with before?
I want to see if you can be on site a couple of days a week. Meaning, I don't expect you to come in and fix things, but I expect you to look at things. If there are things that need to be fixed, then you can fix it. It's just like performing a wellness check. Ideally, you want a response time within 24 to 48 hours. All right. Depending on how many pieces of equipment you have. And a lot of that is discussed prior to machines coming off of warranties, but you're getting all of that put into your contract, the expectations and stuff like that.
Did you have leeway, or maybe even like in the past, when you've had other opportunities to go with the original uh, equipment manufacturer, the OEM, or maybe go third party, or maybe go in house? And how did you negotiate and navigate that discussion?
So years of experience for this. So, not to knock third party guys, but they're there to fill a gap that some places, have huge gaps with. And I get that. But they're also there to save the organization money. And sometimes the way they save money is not the way the machine should be taken care of.
Okay.
Let's put it like that. So I'm a firm believer in going OEM. It may cost me a lot, but I pay for the peace of mind. I pay for the service, and I pay for if anything happens. No, your fault. You come in, you fix it. I don't get charged for it.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay for you pay for I pay for that the peace of mind, but knowing that I'm going to get the machine fixed to the way it came in on day one when it was installed.
How would you say an OEM can gain your trust?
How OEM gains my trust is that when they show up, they're not looking to blame my team for
Mm.
failures. That that they're not looking to blame. They're just looking to get the machine up and running, and they're being collaborative and they're being a partner. Um, I have worked with vendors across the spectrum, and there's one particular vendor that I've been working with over the last 10, 12 years. And not once when I call them for a machine being broken that they've pointed the finger at my staff. Usually there's a person from Belamed where they're there for a week or two and they're covering different shifts to make sure everyone's being covered for the educational piece. If they have questions, they have that representative there, and that's what I liked about their educational team. They will help you tailor that so you're covering everyone. Um, I can't say anything bad about their education and how they help with duty and service to bring up online new equipment.
Let's talk about the challenges when it comes to adopting new equipment or maybe even a, a new layout. How did you navigate that, and how did the Stilco Belamed team help support that?
So most of my installs with them were done through stages. We stage things in. Um, there's always going to be some kind of disruption because people develop habits, and when those habits are hardwired, when you interrupt those habits, people tend to get a little flustered. But at the end of the day, if it's properly phased in, if the team is incorporated in the communication of the phase in, it tends to go a little smoother. The biggest part is the other part to it is then having other teams like coordinating with EVS for cleaning and stuff like that. But for the most part, if it's done in a phased in approach and the team is aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it in phases, sometimes they can even recommend you instead of starting on this side, what can you start this side, and this is the reason why, and having that communication with your team is really helpful, beneficial.
Let's talk about tracking performance and maintenance. What kind of systems or processes have you put in place to monitor equipment performance and ensure that maintenance is occurring when and where it should be happening?
Tell you, I made an investment in the hub system that Bellament has, and that thing is beautiful. I've never used another system with that. Usually, before or Biomed would keep track of those things,
Right.
but the what Biomed was not documenting or what they didn't have was analytics, whereas the hub system gives me all this analytics. And I love that because I can look at the dashboards and see what trends are. I can see why certain pieces of equipment can be breaking down faster because there are some people per shift that are more prone to use number two over using number five. So
Right.
um, and the beauty of the hubs, it keeps track of all of the PMs that are done. Anytime there's a service call, it's there. So if you have a biomed department that also does that, you know, keep each other honest. My biomed department is awesome. It took me, I had to work with them for about a year and so to kind of get them um, to start managing our PMs. So in the meantime, I had all of my PM documentation. I was keeping that manually. Now it's all automated, and I'm glad for the hub system because now if I'm at home and I wanted to see PMs, I can go log in and I can see the PMs there, and then I can follow back up with Biomed the next day.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, you have it right at your fingertips wherever you go.
So we alluded earlier to this concept of quarterly business reviews,
Yeah.
QBRs, they're known as, and the accountability that provide. Just in case no one's aware of what that is, talk us through it. It is first, and then kind of explain how these quarterly business reviews function, in particular this discussion that we're having today.
Sure. So a quarterly business review is basically it's like a meeting where you kind of go over the vendor or the OEM will come in. They will provide you with some data of how they've been performing over the last 3 months. If there's anything on their end that they're seeing as concerns, they will bring it up. If there's some cost savings that they're trying to get to, they kind of give an update on where that is. Um, it kind of gives you, it kind of holds the OEM accountable. It gives you a chance to see how the business is doing, but it also gives you the ability to say to them, look, I would like to see this improve. What can you do to do this to improve this?
Right.
If you're not involved with business QBRs and you're a manager or director of a department, you should try to get at the table, because if they're discussing your equipment, you need to be there to hear the discussion and give input.
So let's talk about another huge topic in the space. Put a lot of money, got the capital approvals, got the installs, got the training, the surgeries are scheduled, and then you confront downtime. How do you manage that downtime?
Well, a lot of that is basically connecting in with the internal teams, like your engineering team, your planning and design team. It's important that you connect with those team. If you have a project, if you have the ability to have a project manager, it's great, because now the project manager can put timelines and really put a specific time on the project, and manage it in a way.
How would you counsel a sterile processing leader who's sitting in that leadership chair right now and they're looking at maybe equipment that's not as reliable as they want it to be, or maybe it is having issues, and potentially they don't have the analytics that we're talking about today, and they're but they still need these teams to talk to each other,
Hmm.
to trust each other if our equipment is not working properly.
Hmm.
We got to get everyone together. How do you make that happen as a sterile processing leader?
I was told by someone, when you move into these leadership roles, it becomes your job now is to build relationships, and those relationships help you get what you need to get for your area and help you accomplish certain things. So we all know, for some reason, wherever you go, all SPD is tied into facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, you establish your relationship with facilities and their leadership. You also have biomed at a lot of places. SPD is tied in with biomed. You establish that relationship with biomed. You have infection control. You establish those relationships. Now, if you got those three folks and you have a really solid relationship with those, anytime there's equipment issues, you can have your advocate. Those are your advocates there for you. It's almost like a lobbyist.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making some calls behind the scene, and you're trying to move some things in the background. Um, but you're getting everybody to come into your corner and support your decision for this piece of equipment.
What advice would you give folks as we wrap up here, um, to to be aware of, to focus on, to prioritize as they're going through this install process, but then this ongoing support relationship with their OEM?
If you're looking to purchase a new piece of equipment and you have your mind set on it, you should really go to a couple of different places, places that are just as busy or you or even busier, to see how this equipment is operating. Don't just take it for it. You might have your heart set on this particular sterilizer. Well, you want to see how it's going to work, how it works for other people. You don't want to bring something into your facility, and then it doesn't perform the way you were expecting, and you have a lot of downtime. It's key to just go out and see it in action in other places.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this episode of Beyond Clean. And until we talk to you again, keep fighting dirty.